Hey, Bob, I see today is the 81st birthday for the hit king, Pete Rose, celebrating an 81st birthday today. I don't think there still is a more polarizing name other than maybe Barry Bonds in sports, maybe even in sports history, or maybe I'm just thinking about in my lifetime. Yeah, and it wasn't that way at first. Like when I was growing up, and when you were coming up too, man. I mean, Pete Rose was like universally beloved. Things are a lot different now, aren't they?
Yeah, he was Charlie Hustle, and I know me personally. He broke. One of the. He committed a cardinal sin, betting on baseball games. I know people say, well, he bet on his own team, but you can say, well, maybe he would have. Used his pitching staff differently to win that one game, even though it was bad in the long run. Like it's just something you can't do. And then if you fall in debt enough to gamblers, then they can say, well, okay, we'll erase this debt if you make sure you guys lose this game or whatever. And so it's just he committed a cardinal sin, and then he lied about it for years and years and years. I personally would have. Might be more forgiving towards him. I'm pretty sure I would be if he admitted, his mistake at the very start. And who knows, maybe he'd be in the Hall of Fame if he'd done that. But for years and years and years, he insisted he didn't do it. Then he finally said, yeah, I did do it. And it's so, okay, you broke the rule, and on top of that, you're just a big liar.
Yeah.
And then I've seen him on TV over the years. He's just been, to me, less and less a guy, less and less likable. And, part of me feels like he's the all-time hit king, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. It's not a hall of, great people necessarily. But I know a lot of Hall of Fame, a lot of the old school guys, like I remember Bob Feller before he passed away, they seemed adamant they did not want him in. So I think maybe the only way, maybe let the living Hall of Famers take a vote or something. I mean, it's a shame he did that to himself, but it was a self-inflicted wound. So I think it's a shame he's not in the Hall of Fame, but I don't really feel sorry for him because I think he brought it all on himself.
Yeah, for years he epitomized the way the game was supposed to be played. I mean, even Bubba said it on the broadcast the other day with the way that somebody should slide into third base. He just had that fame. And look, he literally was the face of baseball because the logo, so Jerry West is the NBA logo. The logo of Major League Baseball is Pete Rose in the batting stance. So that's one of the things that's so difficult to jibe, that here's the way that the game was supposed to be played for all these years, but he did the one thing that could keep you, out of the Hall of Fame back then, because nobody really was talking about steroids. And that's the thing, that we did everything right on the field, except the original sin of baseball is what he did. And that was the thing, that was the toughest thing to take.
Well, and of course, that's kept Joe Jackson out of the Hall of Fame all these years, too. You can make a case that he deserves to be in there more than Pete Rose does, or as much as Pete Rose does, but you obviously don't hear as much about him because he played so long ago. But, yeah, and I think this is right. Doesn't Pete Rose, like the Hall of Fame weekend, he goes to Cooperstown and sets up a booth and signs autographs?
Yeah,
it's almost like he's just, that doesn't, he's kind of trying to upstage the Hall of Famers, and I don't think that's a very good look either. But I think Pete Rose probably stopped caring a long time ago about how things look and just does whatever he wants to do,
Yeah, he's almost become the John Daly-ish type of Major League Baseball. Like John Daly goes to the Hooters during Augusta. Pete Rose sets up on the other side of Cooperstown, New York. But Bob, some guy that is hoping to possibly, maybe not be a Major League Hall of Famer. I'm sure he has aspirations for it, but is turning in definitely a Hall of Fame caliber season for the Razorbacks. Connor Noland. I mean, what has been some of the key factors that have gone into him being such a reliable Friday night starter for the Razorbacks?
Well, I think one is he's healthy. Last year we didn't really know early on. He was struggling. I remember going back to fall ball. It seemed like he was struggling. In the COVID year or the year after that. And but I think one, he's healthy, and because he missed 2 months last year. I guess I'm talking about the preseason last year with that forearm strain. So, one, I think he's got good health. He's a senior. He still has the COVID year, so he'll have a leverage in the draft. I'm sure this will be his last year in college. And so I think he's got maturity. I mean, he showed as a freshman, a true freshman, when he broke in the rotation, pitching the College World Series, that he had, the skill set, the stuff. So I think it's a kind of a matter of it all coming together: health, maturity, talent. I think being able to work with Matt Hobbs now for 3 years or whatever it's been. You see a confident guy out there. He just knows how to pitch, and he's arguably been, I know he probably won't be the first SEC pitcher drafted. He kind of reminds me of Blaine Knight or Isaiah Campbell. He's just late in his career. He's just developed into an unquestioned number one pitcher for Arkansas.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, big series for the Razorbacks this weekend against LSU. Up for grabs, number one seed position right now in the SEC West. What's something about LSU that kind of jumps off the page at you that could really give the Razorbacks some trouble this weekend?
Well, they got a team batting average over 300. I mean, you look at their top three hitters. Barry, of course, Jacob Barry. They followed. Jay Johnson, the coach from Arizona, to LSU, but they got three hitters that. I'm just looking at the stats here. Yeah, Barry 367, Dylan Cruz 341, K. Doty 359. They're all got 8 or 9 home runs. So they have just a really potent lineup. Dave Van Horn talked a little bit about this the other night, that Florida probably had the deepest, most balanced lineup Arkansas faced. But LSU's right there. So, LSU, they always have a lot of good hitters, or they usually do. And just the fact their lineup top to bottom is pretty tough, especially in the middle of that order. They got, they probably got, if you talk about taking 3 hitters off a team, they probably got 3 hitters as good as anybody in the country.
Well, what Arkansas needs is, you feel like you know what you're going to get here from Connor Noland, because it's been consistent week in, week out. He's given you, at the very least, 5 good innings, and at the best 7, and he goes out and competes. What Arkansas needs, of course they need to swing the bat and capitalize with opportunities to score, but they still need the same kind of starting pitching that they had gotten the first 3 weekends in the SEC from Hagen Smith and from Jackson Wiggins. That didn't occur at Florida. Arkansas had to kind of play from behind those last couple of games, and that's because they got 4 innings from the starters, and Smith and Wiggins got hit. And this LSU lineup can swing it, Bob, just like you're talking about. So, they're still searching for an extra couple of relievers. So that's why I feel like it's pretty tantamount. I'm not worried about today's game. Tomorrow and Saturday, you need to see Hagen Smith and Jackson Wiggins pitching more or less the way they did for the first 3 weekends in conference.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I don't have any doubt. I don't know who will win tonight, but I don't have any doubt Connor Noland will pitch well. The last 2 last 2 SEC starts against Mississippi State and Florida, 2 obviously really good lineups, and 14 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, 1 walk. That's really impressive. 13 strikeouts, just 1 walk, because the walks is what will really get you into trouble. You want to make these teams earn everything they get. And then I think the fact that Arkansas is playing Saturday for the 2nd week in a row, obviously Smith's a freshman, Wiggins a sophomore, still kind of obviously learn how to pitch in the SEC. And I think the fact those guys will be operating on a full week, I think that'll be good for them. You wonder, it obviously didn't bother Nolan to pitch a day early. It bothered them a little bit. And now you've got the reversal where, LSU's pitching a day, a day less rest than normal. Arkansas's guys are on normal rest, so you wonder how that might play into it. But, yeah, definitely they need those 2 and 3 starters to go deeper and pitch better. And then, I know UAPB's, 7-21 and 1. But still, Arkansas threw 14 shutout innings against them Tuesday, which I thought was pretty impressive. You could tell Dave Van Horn really liked that and was impressed. So that might give him a few more options here in the bullpen. I mean, a guy like Cole Ramey's looked really, really good in his 3 innings, and Zach Morris, pitched pretty well, and I know Starks, Dave talked about him having 3 or 4 miles an hour on his fastballs, better against UAPB, and how he's got to bring that to an SEC series. So, I think there may be some arms that through Tuesday that they might be able to use Friday and Saturday if needed.
Bob, big weekend, I guess, on the Hill with LSU coming in to face the Razorbacks. Softball's got a top 15 matchup as well, but then it's also the spring game practice fan event thing that nobody can really seem to nail down exactly what it is. And how heavily attended do you think the spring practice game thing is going to be?
Yeah, that'd be good. They should add a contest or something, come up with a name for that, because it's not the red-white game.
No.
It's an open practice. But, obviously it's free. At least I think it is. But I think there's a lot of interest, obviously, in football coming off last season, and Arkansas is in most everybody's preseason top 25 in football. Some polls you see them in the top 10. So I think there's a lot of interest in football. I think the weather's supposed to be pretty decent. Sunny and maybe in the high 60s, and then the fact that you could go to the football event, let's just call it that. I'll just call it a practice. It's a practice. So you can go to open football practice and, get your football fix, and then you just very quickly and easily head down Razorback Road to the baseball game if you're lucky enough to have tickets for that series. And or you can go to the softball game, which is obviously right next door, to the football stadium too, or just right down the road there. Actually, I guess it's next door to Walton Arena. But so I think that's one of the things I always loved about Arkansas's facilities, and then other campuses are like this too. But Arkansas in particular is you've got everything very centrally located, just right there, down that Razorback Road corridor. From football all the way down to Baum Stadium, and then you've got all the facilities in between. So, I mean, you could go there and make it a nice day of it, go to football and then go to softball or baseball, or, if you want to, go to lunch or whatever. I mean, it's early enough that you could do various things. So I think it'll be pretty well attended. And I assume they'll have kids' activities and things like that. So they usually make those things into a pretty good, a good family atmosphere type deal.
Well, I'll have my head firmly on the baseball game that day, too. So I'm sure it'll be a great day, and we'll have a lot of people on the Hill going to whatever sporting event they feel like going to. Bob, appreciate you, man. It's always good talking to you. Have a good rest of the week.
Okay, you guys take care.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs, sports info, and odds. Find all the latest sports developments, including this week's odds for the Masters Championship and the start of Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so join today. Learn why everyone is saying BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on popular sports and games. Bet online, where the game starts.